My name is Brother Caleb from the Church of Jesus Christ. I'm here to share my testimony about my conversion. I was born and raised in church. From a very early age, I received revelation from the Lord through dreams from the Lord and through visions as well. At one point, I received Lehi's vision. This gave me a really strong testimony very early on, especially of the Lord's presence in my life and the fact that He would guide me through revelation. From a very early age, the Lord revealed Himself to me in many ways. One of which was, I remember at a school function, many of the kids my age were acting in an instance in which I didn't think honored the Lord. And I felt the Holy Ghost physically pull me back from the situation. It actually led me asking for my baptism at 12, but by the guidance and discernment of my father, he told me to wait. And I would ask later on when I was 19 in my life, and it was such a blessing to me. The journey of me asking for my baptism actually probably began in high school. At the beginning of my senior year, I actually ended up breaking my back. At the time, I was getting recruited by several colleges looking for a scholarship to go play football. And this changed my entire journey, really. And so my ability to play ball at a D2 or even D1 AA level was completely thwarted. And it required a reset of my life. And by the end of the season, January, I went to go check out what was wrong with me. and by the advice of the doctor, he just told me to sit and wait on it. And he said, there's nothing we could do. But the next month in February, we went to go visit a sister to anoint her for an illness. And as my father went to go lay hands on her, anoint her with the oil, she pointed towards me and she said, go anoint your son first. And as my father walked over to me and he laid hands on me, he began to pray. And I sat in the chair and I faithfully prayed with him. And I felt a burning in my spine. And I felt the pain fade away from my body. And I knew I was healed at that point. And the Lord really reset my life, and He also reset my direction. And so my search for a school was back on, and my search for a school that I could play football with was back on. And I had a school reach out to me called Southern Virginia University. And they were a small little school in Southern Virginia, and they were actually 90% Latter-day Saints. And this was interesting in me, but it really transformed myself. It forced me to read more. It forced me to study. Forced me to learn my church's history and strengthen my testimony. So while I was there, I nearly talked to missionaries about 4 times a week, and it actually fortifies my testimony to the church. And by understanding our doctrine better, I understood that our church was separated to maintain the purity of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the latter days. And I went home that summer, and after my first year at the college and playing football there and all those great things, I asked for my baptism as I combined the knowledge with a testimony that the Spirit of the Lord came down and broke my heart one day in a conversation with a friend. Some of the questions I had leading into my baptism often dealt with purpose and eternal purpose and actually my place in this world. It wasn't until I had those discussions at college with missionaries where we went over 2nd Nephi, 2nd chapter, Alma 41, 42, that I really was able to understand the entire role of human beings on earth. I was able to understand my eternal purpose. I was able to understand the Lord's great plan of happiness as described in the Book of Mormon. Those things to me held me back spiritually, actually. And because I thought the idea of going to heaven just for your own happiness was selfish to me. And I thought it wasn't a plan greater than myself, and therefore it didn't deserve my attention, right? But because I studied those things, I understood the plan more fully. I understood our service to one another and the love that we share for one another, and that through Christ, all those things are brought into fulfillment. So I was actually sitting down with a friend from Michigan at the time, and he goes to me and says, "Caleb, why aren't you baptized?" He goes, "You act righteously, you do everything right. Even I look up to you." He says, "What's holding you back? Why aren't you baptized?" And I said, "Well, maybe it's not my time." And I said I was looking for a spiritual experience to happen, like a dream or a vision. And I was waiting for the Lord to call me. And maybe that's not always right. But at that instant, when he asked, I felt the Spirit of the Lord just come and drop down on me like a heavy weight. It felt like it cracked my heart in half. And I began to start bawling and crying. And I actually ran out of the cafeteria, and I knew it was my time then. The Spirit of the Lord was speaking to me, and I knew the question addressed. So I went to go call my father, and I asked, "Dad, I want to be baptized." And he said, "Finally," which was long awaited. So at 19 years old in 2017, I decided to get baptized, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. If I give any advice to anybody seeking the Lord in their life, and also seeking that personal relationship with Christ, I would not only guide them to build the Spirit in their lives, through the obvious of prayer and study of the Word and through having faith, but I would also guide them to examine the covenant that they're about to make with the Lord, and to know the importance of not only the sacrifice that they make and that the Lord has made for their personal sins, but also the sacrifice that he's made for the world and the greater purpose he has for the world and your place in that, and the fact that you can be a servant of the Lord if you so choose, and that you could surrender your will and surrender your life to him, and that he'll fill your heart with purpose, and he'll fill it with meaning, and he'll fill it with such a greater joy that you could receive nowhere else.